Welcome to Enlightened AF. I am Tricia Carr.
And I am Aidan Demarest.
And I'm trying to get Aidan to put the black phallus closer to his mouth.
Jesus, right?
Is it okay?
Is this
Producer
okay?
Kurt, is
this
it okay?
Good right here? Yeah. If that was only the first time somebody said that to me today.
So
So.
I want to know, though, because you said it's the same. Fellatio?
Fellatio?
Yeah, because I said something about gaylatio. I said something, and you said it was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's right. You said, is that how they do it? Is that how gays do it? And I was like, I'm pretty sure it's the same movement, right? There's no particular way.
Well, my question is, people.
On fellatio. We're diving right in with fellatio.
Every straight person, I'm sure, has asked this before. But, I mean, I assume since you own the.
Just let's do a little poll out there.
Everyone wants to. Every straight person wants to know. That, I mean, a man does it better on a man, probably, right?
Oh, there's the question.
Well, just because you own as it's to quote Seinfeld, you own the equipment.
Well, I think that applies. Don't you think most people say that about both sexes?
That's what I'm at. Yeah, but I'm straight, so I've never done.
But do you think you would give better fellatio to a woman?
I don't think it's called fellatio for a woman. It's called cunnilingus.
Cunnilingus.
I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I would imagine. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
For sure. And there's way less of a learning curve.
Mm-hmm. Some are straight, some don't even have curves.
Or downward or all that stuff.
Speaking of flaccid penises, it is post-election day.
And who doesn't have a limp dick today?
I don't.
That was exhausting.
I don't know. I didn't care. I didn't do much.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday. Not really one fuck given.
By me?
No, by me. Did I use up our fuck?
Those are two of them. You've used up
next week.
We're in a deficit. Okay, and let's welcome our new listeners. Hey, Enlightened AF, brand new listener. You can subscribe, like, share, comment, and review on iTunes. We would love it if you would do that. Please give us a review. All you have to do is 5 stars and say Aidan's wrong. That's all you have to do. And that will really immensely help us. And then also we put them up on YouTube, y'all. You can see our gorgeous faces live. And you can find us by searching at Enlightened AF Pod on Facebook and Periscope. And also on ubnradio.com/channel-the numero uno. Channel 1 is what I'm saying.
When do we get the little office minion, the little nerd that works the social media magic box? When does that come? Remember? If you're out there and you want to be a part of all this in here and you have a gift for that, all of this magic, you can get all up in this every day because I don't know how to work this thing.
And I don't have time to. And
it's exhausting.
This magic, unicorns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you readings.
Anyway, I feel like that person always arrives everywhere I've ever worked, and they have not yet. And I don't know. Every week
they
I'm
arrive
confused.
They arrive because of money being paid toward them.
Oh, that was it. Not always. Remember,
it's not ever your money.
No, it's never mine.
That's why you didn't know.
It's not an.
You thought that it was just your magical intention.
Where is that fleet of people?
I know. He keeps placing orders with me, like, let's have a graphic for this, and I'm like, I ain't the graphics department.
Damn it! Send it down to graphics.
Yeah. Okay.
After a very long career in wet spirits and alcohol and stuff, I just it is true that sort of things arrived whenever in order to keep the puppets propped in place, they put a lot of stuff up under us.
Yeah. Well. Puppets. Speaking of puppets, it is post-election day. There's so many segues available.
Oh, there really isn't anywhere we couldn't go. Oh, look watch my chair.
Aidan is sinking down into hell.
What happened?
That's why you have to watch. You have to watch it too. You have to listen to it. You got to watch it. Well, stop doing it. It's not so interesting.
Fun. It goes down. I just did a Chaplin.
So people were really upset about a person named Beto not winning. Beto. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah. Was he
a Texas guy?
Texas, right?
He was running against Cruz, I think.
And he was super pro gay. I think.
Okay.
I want to say just because I saw rainbows on some of those posts.
Okay.
I don't know.
This is going to be a great show.
That I don't know.
So yesterday,
monster.
We got together to prep for today's show, and Aidan's like, we have to do an election show, a post-election show. And
we had the most amazing steak and frites while we were thinking about it. There's nothing metaphysical about our lunches while we plan this.
Why?
We get into our previous spirit life when we do that.
Why? I know. I think that, I guess you're right.
We went to a super great restaurant.
We did, called Petit Foie.
Deliciousness.
No, Petit Foie, not Petit Foie.
You don't
Petit
have to be poor to be supernaturally, metaphysically on board.
You can be abundant in order to be abundant.
That's what we were talking about. Okay,
we did talk
so
about abundance.
Dive in. You explain.
Well, I was going to say, I was just going to tell the part where Aidan says we have post-election show. And I was like, well, okay, but I'm not voting. So are you voting? Because I'm not voting. And you can't. And people will burn me at the stake if I just, because everybody's so hyper about it.
True story. And we're at lunch. We're halfway through the day, and she has no plan for voting.
No plan. Until he started to shame me. And I was like, see, this is why. I was like, this people shame you about it. And he was like, spot on, right, Kurt? Wasn't that a spot on Aidan impersonation?
No, that was not. That was
I thought he was here.
I thought he was here. Turns out producer Kurt's hilarious.
Why do I feel like one of those old guys in the Muppets up in the boxes?
Yeah. Stadler and Waldorf or something like that.
Okay, go.
And so I said, okay, fine, I will vote. And he's like, and I said, I know where my polling place is too. I said, but I haven't done any research. I don't know. And I said, but here's the thing. I was like, okay, you just tell me who to vote for and I'll go vote. And Aidan sends me, he's like, fine. And he sends me his lengthy research on voting yesterday. And he sent me Newsom for governor, Democrat for Congress. That's it. You know, there's 97 propositions and 97 other randos.
Stop.
For the office of such and though.
And never mind. This is so bad. We can't have a political conversation now since we have just clarified we are morons in this whole department.
You're the one who said it.
Well, here's the bad part. I text somebody else and asked for that advice and passed that text on to you. That wasn't even yours.
Yeah.
That wasn't even
That was a forward.
That was a forward. I had hit somebody else and been like, what should I do? I think somebody and I was like, I have not even watched 1 second. The minute that orange guy shows up on TV, I just rant. And I would watch
that Oompa Loompa.
Like Little House on the Prairie instead of live from CNN, like Kim Jong-un is blowing us up.
And so I'll tell you, if this is striking some of you guys as insensitive, let us be just lightning to you because we care. We do.
We really do.
We do care.
We do. And it's not like I'm not aware of the proposition. You know, a lot of the stuff that was happening, and I was aware that we needed to get the Senate in the House, or we needed to get the House for sure.
We needed to get the Senate in the House. I know that's wrong.
Bink. No, we needed to get Democrat. Well, if you were a Democrat.
You said, and the House.
But you know what? I mean, this goes to the bigger, what we talked about, a bigger picture that I don't necessarily, I mean, you know, I grew up in a really, really politically active family in Boston and super what I call Kennedy Democrats. They would probably describe themselves differently, but nowadays conservative Democrats. And my parents were a lot more. My dad was actually probably pretty conservative, but now so in other words, I see the point of sometimes like what seemed very right wing sort of. What's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. I don't know where you're
capitalistic, sort of like to keep taxes low, keep government out of the
keep government small.
Yeah, keep government
low.
small, and all that kind of stuff. I see some of the and hear that, and I don't think it's fair to just shut that down and be like, no, you just don't understand. Yeah, because that is not true. But the other side, everybody's just so polarized. That's what we talked about.
Well, yeah, and I actually, I think I like to think of myself as non-political at all. I'd like to be.
You are dead on there.
I would like to not have any pole, which doesn't mean I'm asexual. I have one pole, but because I'm married.
Leaving this all alone.
So anyway, but I guess if I were to describe myself, I would hope I'm centrist at least, or whatever. Just meaning like in the center. I'm hoping that I'm not too partisan. I'm hoping I'm not beholden to any. I would like. Because I want to continue to grow, I just really hope that I'm always open to whatever is the highest good in the moment. So most people would consider me liberal, socially liberal. Yeah. But on the other hand, there was one proposition in California that was about rent control. And rent control, I have sympathy for it, how it can help folks with lower income. And I can't remember what it is, chapter whatever, when it's actually the lower income housing owned by the government for like police and teachers and fire, you know what I mean, and military.
Yeah.
I'm super for that.
Yeah.
And that would be a bit more socialist. But I do have a problem with the idea of the government enforcing that a private building owner can't make his rent what he wants it to be, because I think that is restricting freedoms. And that's what a lot of, rent control affects.
I mean, it's funny because, again, we're talking about the word polarize. I was just going to say I agree, and I kind of do. But then I know that currently, like San Francisco, I just saw this documentary, and this is only because it's basically having like a third world issue right now, where the city has priced out everybody, and there is families in the street out there next to junkies and all the the homeless and the insane and the everybody that got pushed out in the street, and now like lower middle class is joining those people. Like it's really
so see, I have complete empathy for that.
Super frightening that like lower middle class folks are joining.
And I think this is what our politics should fluctuate to case by case scenario. So clearly they could use some rent control or something like that can sort of foster that problem right now. But a lot of times people get very partisan for the sake of being partisan, rather than having empathy for the people inside the issues and inside the specific cases. And that's, I think we need to be flexible, is what I'm saying, adaptable, rather than being partisan because you're going to wear a label and that just makes you feel safe. And it doesn't. You're never safe by a label.
One of the things that I think might be helpful is bringing back the serf system, the Russian serfs thing, where there's just, they just work the land, get to live there, right?
Yeah,
and get absolutely nothing from it.
Like indentured servitude.
Yeah, well, serfdom. That was a decent system, right? All the potatoes you could stuff in your sack.
Yeah. A potato diet does not get you very far in Los Angeles.
And a mud hut.
And a mud hut. Sounds fantastic.
Right? And occasionally a horse pulls up and just burns the thing to the ground and rapes everyone in the house.
Kurt's pulling up a picture of a surfer. That's the surf system in Los Angeles.
That was my understanding of what it looked like. Yeah. And you lived, like if you were a surf, you just lived on the beach in Malibu and like had just a little shack and a bunch of beef jerky.
Yes, that's exactly the surf system.
Must have been terrible.
Well, I think that what this reminds me, you want to hear how I voted though, since you gave me two useless facts.
How'd that go? No, it wasn't useless. That was perfect. All you had to do, you don't have to punch everything, which by the way, I never do.
I do.
Just ding, ding, ding.
I did.
You can do the 4 things and walk away.
Okay, but here's the thing.
It's not you don't get graded.
I know that. I know you don't have to punch everything, but I was there.
Yeah.
So this is here's the thing. I think that no matter how much research you do as a citizen, you don't really know what's going on, what Newsom is actually going to do, what those propositions are actually affording or actually allowing or inhibiting. You really don't know unless you are deep in the politics in the midst of it. You can't tell, not from just facts that you can collect by research. So what do? I use my intuitive sensing. I psychically vote. So I'm meaning that I went there, even though, and
that's what we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, and I covered up the parties, even in a lot of cases. I cleared my mind, and I just hooked into the energy of either the name of the person or the name of the proposition, and read some of them. I would read the description a little bit just to kind of get in the energy of it, and I just let my inner being, or actually my body, tell me where to go with it. Fair. And one of them was actually a little surprising to how I normally feel about things.
Okay.
And so I don't know why.
I could see that.
Yeah. And
I just flipped a coin.
Except for, that's also another way you could do it.
I just stood there just to piss everybody else off in there and just kept flipping a coin and then looking land on the ground over and over again 40 times, just like while the guy next to me tried to pick out his stuff.
The one thing that I did go without, I was already super duper decided on, was daylight savings time. That made it onto the ballot for the next election.
Oh, really? What do you mean daylight savings time?
We have daylight saving time in California. Most states do. It's on the ballot to be voted out, that we wouldn't change the time anymore.
Oh, wow.
I love that. Arizona doesn't change. Hawaii doesn't change.
You don't want to change?
No, it's dumb. The sun goes down at 4:45. I don't.
But you have
that.
kids, though.
I don't, first of all. Second of all, why? And actually, it's better for kids for it to not change, because little kids, when their parents one day pick them up when the sun is up and the next day pick them up when the sun is down,
part about Halloween
it freaks them out.
And stuff like that. It gets
gets dark
later.
enough for... First of all, Halloween happens before daylight savings.
No.
Yes, it does.
The 31st.
No. Yes, that's when it is, but the time
Not
changed on the
every
5th.
year.
Yes, it's always unless it happens on Halloween, then they actually push it.
I mean, whenever you think about that, the fact that we arbitrarily choose
it's
blocks
the first
of time,
weekend of
like that a
November.
calendar year is a year. Is it really? Like like
No.
how we count time, how we count the it's the year 2018. It's like what does that mean to anything? And it's
arbitrary because time is an
4:19.
illusion.
Yeah, like what time is it?
Time is an illusion. It's true. I know.
Aidan time. That's what it is.
That's the thing.
Yeah, all the time.
So, but what this all comes down to, and you know what, politics are an illusion too. That's what I'm saying. Like the names and the parties and the descriptions of the propositions are all illusions. And so
there's a little angst though, a little guilt. I mean, jump in there. It's like I feel a little guilt. I've spent, especially this last couple of years, because I've spent the last 3 years in particular, really, like for lack of a better word, up my own ass with recovery and with like sort of enlightenment and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't let a lot of that in. I probably have not watched the news thing, and I definitely have not read the paper. Like much. Right?
Good for you. And I'll tell you why. Let me just qualify that.
It has not changed the quality of my life.
Well,
I mean, except for the better.
For the better, right. And the reason I say good for you is, so I think it's an unfortunate bill of goods that we're sold. We're conditioned to think that watching the news makes us responsible citizens. Let me tell you, everybody knows that like 2 guys own all of the newses, right? And they are selling us something. There are healthier ways, cleaner ways to get more responsible. There's NPR. But watching any of the news outlets, the major commercial news outlets, is not educational.
But tell me this. I mean, I grew up with a strong sense of sort of community, and your responsibility as a citizen to first of all uphold, what we fought super hard for. I grew up with, like a lot of people around me from veterans and all, and WW2 was still really heavy. My family were immigrants. One side of my
really
family.
Old.
Huh?
I said Aidan's really old. Korean War was really still a part of your reality.
Shit.
I know. He's only 6 years older
than
me.
My parents were only 13 years older than me. That's all.
They were 13?
No, yours.
I know. They didn't have you at 13.
No, yours did.
Mine. That's true. My mother was 33 when she became a grandmother.
Your mom's only 43, right? Now. Right?
My mother was. Did you hear me?
I had
my
like
mother
100-year-old grandmother.
My mother was 33 when she became a grandmother.
Right. So my generational family was like normal space apart, right? Like they weren't in 6th grade. So like my grandparents had been to World War II because I was born during Vietnam.
Okay.
So everybody's got their war.
Uh-huh.
And there's supposed to be a 20-year spread.
Right.
Not 11. Just FYI.
15.
15? Is that what it was?
My mother and my sister. Well, my mother is
33.
16.
She was a grandmother.
The average age my sister and my mother had babies were 15, 16. So that's how she was 33.
33 is just my cutoff for like I'm willing to date.
She was gonna be.
I mean, my bottom.
She was gonna be 34 in 3 months. So give her some credit.
Grandma. Just called Nana.
Mimi, actually. It's what she went with Mimi because she was not ready for grandma or Nana or nanny or mama.
Jesus. I mean, like, luckily nowadays, I mean, that's not true now in Texas, is it? Have they?
I don't know, probably,
What's
possibly.
going on down
it's
there?
true potentially anywhere.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah.
Palmdale. My parents were young. They were 18.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
Yeah, but they were 21 by the time they had me.
Yeah.
Anyway, there is a ton of civic responsibility. There's the word I'm looking for.
Civic
and local, and I feel like I grew up like ingrained that local politics was where that happened. Local politics, town, city, state.
There's a lot of, you actually do make, I think it's more impactful to vote local.
Yes, well, local politics. And then that told, and that built out. And that is how America, I think, in my mind, was set up. And in my town, my grandmother worked for, did several campaigns for people that were, in our little town. And, of course, our little town, that means it was like Ted Kennedy and stuff like that because my little town was Boston. But it was like, and then it branched out. And she didn't do Ted Kennedy. But it was like, I think that is a more impactful and more. God, I'm not pulling words out today.
He has no words.
I have no words. I have no big words. A much more pleasing experience.
I want to tell you, though, that Aidan continued to nag me the rest of the day about whether or not I voted. And so I actually did prove to him that I voted by sending him a choice. Oh, I actually sent him 2 photos. One,
I was at work.
One producer, Kurt, is putting up for us right now. And for those of you who are listening.
And then I said it was, because I put up a thing that's saying vote for tacos.
Well, Aidan said that he was sending, because he manages a restaurant that is a Mexican restaurant.
Yes.
And he said that he was going to give a free taco to people who came in with their I voted sticker. And so I sent him a picture of my buttocks with an I voted sticker.
Which is clear. I knew that was her
right
ass.
in the sensitive area.
Yes.
I mean, I felt my way to make it, to give it its
I
placement.
said, show me your taco, basically.
I said, where's my taco? And you said, in the front. And I set you up for that. That was my alley.
Yeah.
And then I sent him another one, which is, kind of obvious, one where I was lifting up my top and I had it on as a pasty.
You didn't send that one to Kirk?
No, I don't think I want to put that, just in case.
What are you afraid of?
Actually, it's just out of respect
for
what? My husband. He might, and that's mostly my breast. I don't care. I think it's hilarious.
I do too, and it's not. But first of all, it's unintelligible.
Well, the problem is I didn't get a response back from Aidan from my pasty breast picture, and it is pasty too. It's a very fair.
It's a great looking breast. Now that I figured it out.
And I said, how come I didn't get a response about the second one? And he goes, "What, of your stomach?" And so I was like, okay, so either you think my stomach is that fat and round, or my breast is that flat.
It looked like it was just an upshot from down here, thing, and it was like a tummy, but it would have had to been like a pregnant tummy. But then I realized it was a boob, a cute little boob, like about my size. Right about the same.
You actually could,
it could
with
have
the
been
right
my
angle.
tit.
I thought that it looked huge in the angle that I took. I was like, yeah.
Look at you getting some heat. Well, if you shoot from below, things look bigger.
That's what I did. I shot from below.
From what I hear. And you definitely were shooting from below. I just didn't get that. I thought it was like a nice big round sort of fisheye tummy shot. Well,
that's great.
That's good. So she was sending me boob shots in the middle of work.
Yeah, and that's but
I would have really laughed if it was on your taco.
But what we were I thought about it.
Right? Why the boob? You were actually going cleaner. That was your Disney shot.
That was my princess shot. And so actually what we talked about yesterday, though, we wanted to talk about how to be able to maintain. We talked about this a lot. We talked about another show of maintaining your inner state, your feeling of safety, security, if the election didn't quite go your way, and recognizing that all starts, no matter what, that starts within. And I think that's what politics do.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say the word powerlessness.
Yeah, empowerment.
Well,
that empowerment is in
powerlessness,
within.
Why is that a bad thing?
To be powerless?
Yeah, to be powerless.
Okay, you tell me why
it's not a bad thing to
why?
be powerless, because to assume that you, for me, I strive to achieve powerlessness.
Oh, you mean you're talking about feeling like you have to be in control. I think is what you're talking about.
Yes,
okay.
And so with politics,
but that's different. Control and empowerment are two different things.
Yes, but I don't think powerlessness and empowerment are cross paths. I don't think that. I think you can be
opposites.
Empowered in your powerlessness. Boom.
I don't know if it's a boom.
There you go. I like that. But the thing is,
I don't know if it's a boom. I just think you said the same word twice.
I don't feel like I'm powerless. I don't feel like, and I feel very empowered in the fact that I have these choices. I get to vote. I get to pick things out, but you don't get to pick out the outcome. And you don't get to decide that 50% of the state has a different belief than you, and they're all retards and morons. Well, that's not a good word anymore, huh?
No, you know.
Damn it. Another one down.
I don't know if moron is bad or good.
Okay, so half-wits, dim-wits, inbreds, whatever. But that's what everybody does. They're like, that guy knows nothing. He can't. So, but we're talking about half the country. I mean, right now we are completely, and if you look at the voting, it's 50-50, right? So it is really, for whatever reason, we have polarized, whether it's the Russians or whatever's going on, the whole conspiracy theory stuff going on. But why does that make 50% of the country powerless if it doesn't go their way? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I do. I think it
I don't
means.
know, I just don't feel.
Well, because they're still
Trump's
existing.
a president. I didn't vote for him, and I don't feel like I lost control of the country because he became president.
Right. I don't think I had control of the country.
And I don't think that women, minorities, gays, like anyone are being more. It's just funny to me that everybody acts like this is like global warming and it's escalating.
Yeah.
As though it's not this beautiful thing. I saw a great thing today where, thank God this guy's president because it's shining a spotlight on what's happening already.
Yeah, exactly. We're having a lot of things. People get really afraid.
Trump is the global warming of politics.
Just wanted to say that. Yeah. I don't even think you mean that. I just think you thought that was going to sound like a good drop and you just said it.
No, that was a very... I thought about that for weeks and I wanted to throw that in there.
But we wanted to talk about also... Remember,
how we... Right. Go.
Yeah, but also we want to discuss
What's the name of this show?
Enlightened AF.
No.
Oh, what's the name of this show?
Where are we?
Post-election.
Who are you?
Perspective.
Who are you people and how did I get here?
Is that a breast or a stomach?
Why am I chained to this chair?
We wanted to talk about how you can be specific for your requests. Like be specific about with your spirit guides. Be specific about what your requests are, about who you said that you didn't really realize basically what I was saying. I psychically voted or I intuitively voted.
No. Yeah.
That's actually talk about empowerment to actually use my inner being, to use my vessel, everything that I am to make those choices, because I don't have power to be able to know how they're going to be able to move forward in all of the ways that the election unfolds.
And I don't think, and what we were talking about, and this is something that's new for me, is to ask very specifically, should I get a red or a black phone? Should I get, there's no small stuff to ask.
Right.
And I've been asking a lot in my journey, in my sort of realization that there is, all this great stuff, that the world is here for us. And that doesn't mean that I am the center of the universe, but it is all here for us.
You're the center of your universe, your experience, and that is your orientation.
The only way I can describe it best is parking karma, right? So a lot of people talk about having great parking karma, and I can do it too. Like I can really manifest. I parked right out front, right on Sunset Boulevard. I'm outside the front door. I'm really good at that. And I ask very specifically in those moments, especially if I'm running a little late or whatever, like, can I get that parking spot? But I don't ask really specifically, like, can I get a great movie choice tonight? Can I? Which politician should I vote for? What or
like saying, getting specific, and which is kind of like what I was saying about being specific to the issues, and that's how you actually you care and you have empathy for the issue, the event, the people of that specific thing, like case by case, and then you allow that rather than being so general that, well, I am Democrat or I am Republican, and then that is what is how you get informed about voting. And
sounds so woo-woo, but like if everybody, all the people who voted last night had put in a silent, prayer, or they had taken a moment,
intending, connecting,
and it had a great intention and connected to the universe, how would this election have changed? And how would people walked away? What feeling would they have had walking away? Because I had a really great day yesterday, and things did not go my way entirely with the election. With the results. But and some of them did, and some of them didn't. I was happy with it, but there was things where I was like, oh my God, really? We're still doing that? Like, I can't even believe this is an issue. And we're what? But I didn't feel disconnected or powerless ever. And I felt powerless in a good way. Is what we talked about yesterday. Yeah,
that kind of surrender to the flow way.
And I was like, okay, because I have connected to my higher power. I know that this is going to work out in the way I prayed for it, in the way I thought about it, in the way I
even though I don't know what those I don't see the details of it. Yeah.
You pray for a great job, you get this job, and it's really shitty, and you're like, oh man, I was dying for this great job. Then you quit it, meet the person of your dreams, and live in the house that you wanted to live all your life. Like you don't know the purpose.
But if you keep affirming the flow, the connection to it, then you will then be looking for the evidence of whatever of your dreams is.
Yeah.
But you want to be opening your awareness to it, because it's very easy to negate miracles. It's very easy to negate the positive things in your life and excuse them away. There are infinite perspectives. So you can definitely tune yourself to see.
I sat this past week, and I've had a really great week. I really have, except for my kids who are driving me nuts. But I sat in really great restaurants all week long with just friends, like catching up because I was working. And it was just working out that way. And aside from you, like the 3 other people I sat in posh LA restaurants sitting around town, all of them were saying the world has gone to shit.
I didn't say that. Yeah.
No, we had a ball,
Right.
and we luxuriated in our really beautiful, abundant moment.
Yes.
We were like, oh, this is awesome. We were the guy next to us was horrified.
I had a vat of cheese wrapped in a thin layer of egg.
Which was magical. Everything we ate was magical. We were so happy to be able to talk about something that we loved and get to do it in a great environment. But I talked to a bunch of people this week in the same environments who were like, oh my God, the world's going to shit.
And you'll find evidence of that if you want to find it. We have free will. So if you want to find, if you are speaking that out, then the field will give you evidence of it because it is obedient. It is loyal.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I'm seeing that my life is miraculous. And oh my gosh, I've started a new manifestation technique and it is crazy. It keeps showing up. I talked to you. I didn't tell you about it.
No, I want to hear about it.
Well, I'll just tell you what it is and y'all go research it yourself.
Everyone wants the little worksheet. I want a worksheet.
It's called 55 by 5. And I'm just going to let you go look it up. I'm not going to get into the technique right now. 5-5.
Again, we need the tech girl.
5.
Who's looking it up on what?
On the light box that you call it. Yeah. The light bright.
Tired of that already.
But so many but everything that is showing up, I keep having all these I told you about one of them already. One of them being that, and this was before I started the 55 by 5, before it was even suggested to me. And many days before that, I was being primed for it. And then my friend suggested it, and after this one thing happened, I was saying to my husband that
the bastard,
he's like a bastard.
He's like a bastard.
That I said to my husband, I was talking about how difficult it seemed to be to have a car when I was in my 20s and 30s. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, there was always something, and always something I couldn't afford. There was always, this was broken. And he's like, well, you buy newer cars now. And I was like, yeah, but then there was always a registration. And he's like, yeah, you can just afford your registration and you're probably more organized. And he's like, yeah, and a parking ticket. And he goes, well, I would submit that you actually get more parking tickets than you did before, but it's because you don't care now and you just pay them and you don't care and it doesn't bother you. He's like, now basically you're like, I dare the universe to give me a parking ticket. And we're laughing and I mimicked it and I said, yeah, bring it on, universe, parking tickets, ha ha ha, go on with our lives. An hour later I go out to my car and I have a parking ticket in front of my own house.
Ask and you shall receive. There you go.
But it didn't bother me. It cracked me up.
Yeah.
And I celebrated it because I was like, wow, we are powerful.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why I had a parking ticket. I park in front of my house every single day. And something was expired on my parking pass, but it expired in April. And we have a meter maid who comes up and down our street twice per week. And in 7 months, it's November right now. They didn't.
She probably got
ding
tired
me
of
on
looking
that.
at it.
They didn't ding me on that.
She's
But
like,
the day
"Wake
that
the
I
F
literally dared the universe to give me a parking ticket, then poof, I'm a magician.
No, you didn't.
I did it.
You didn't get a permit for 6 months.
I know.
That's
Stop.
not-
See, you're choosing to not see the miracle. I'm choosing to see the miracle.
How about if you set it on fire in the middle of the street? That might have been a little more obvious. And the lady probably drove by it for 6 months going like, come on.
Come on, lady.
What is up? How long do we got to think? She gave you a pass forever. And finally she was like, all right, this girl's asleep at the wheel.
But you perfectly demonstrated it. That you looked at the side that wasn't quite as miraculous as me saying, look at how magical I literally dared the universe to give me a parking ticket.
That's
I got one.
That is a stretch.
No, it's not a stretch.
You get a parking
brilliant.
ticket. Right. Well, no,
happening
I mean, like,
over and over.
I have been more and more thankful. Like I ride every day. I ride my bike, right? And if I get, and you get flats.
Okay, but when you say I ride, it sounds like you're riding a Harley and you're riding a little beach cruiser or something. I just
not a beach cruiser. I ride a street bike.
With a basket with flat daisies on it.
Please. I ride a badass bike, actually. I come from a long ride, a cyclist. I'm a cyclist.
That's right. You did just tell me that your father was a rider.
My dad was a bike racer. Raced bikes all over New England.
That's
and my
pretty cool.
great-grandfather was a bike racer. Mm-hmm. And I didn't.
Amazing.
I always rode bikes, but it wasn't a thing. And then I don't know. All of a sudden, I turned 40, and I just became my dad. I don't know what happens. It's like I just got weird and cycle, which is exactly him. I cycle and I get a flat, and I used to get him and be like, first of all, here's something that would always bum him out. I never learned how to fix them. Like I never could fix a bike. I would literally throw them away when they were done. When the bike got a flat.
That's the daintier side of you.
Yeah, right. So, but now
I didn't say gay.
Yeah, because that's not a gay thing.
I know.
Anyway, the bikes. Now when I get one, I really do, especially having spent the last couple of years like slowing down, take a look at things, like be present. And I've also live in a great area where I can like walk to somewhere to get a bike done because I live in Hipster Central over in Highland Park, and there's a bike shop and basically like an aromatherapy shop on every corner.
Yeah.
Next to like an auto body and a Yadro store.
I don't know what Yadro is.
Yadro. You just have to look that up.
Okay.
Look that up on the Magic Box.
With 55x5.
Yadros for $25 for 100.
Okay.
It's tires.
I don't know.
It's tires.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, now I just see it as like, okay, I'm not gonna ride. That's just what's happening. Like I would get to ride every day, thank God, and now I get to take a day off and I get to get this fixed and I get to like take a little moment. It's been a really good
So looking for, I wonder what good will come of this. Looking for the miracles.
It takes a minute. I don't dive right into that. I'm not Gandhi. You know what I mean? I'll be like, fuck.
Oh, really? You're not. We all thought you were.
So then I go across the street and punch the old lady who lives across from me in the head, and then I run down and get my bike fixed.
Well, speaking of turning lemons to lemonade, you have a story about about being specific about your requests and the things that you want to create.
Yeah. About
how you have a little unconscious savings account with your tax returns.
Oh, yeah. I really do. That is so funny. It's a thing that I have done for years. I consult on bars and restaurants, and I have for a long, long time. Before that, I owned a bar, whatever. And there's like and I have 3 kids, and I, teeter on the edge of poverty or luxury at any time.
It's a sharp edge.
It's a sharp edge. And
there are no degrees.
Yeah, 0.
No middle class in your life.
No, I have no idea what that looks like. It's like I am in a lean-to under an overpass, or I am at the top of Mulholland, and I really don't know if anybody lives anywhere in between. Yeah. Is that a thing? But and I kind of appreciate that about myself at this point. But for some reason, every year I extend my tax. I have a tax guy. This guy who's been amazing. I've had him for 20 years. And every year I call the girl in the office and extend the taxes because I just assume naturally I need to do that. And I'll be like, I need an extension. I can't get my shit together. Right? Yeah. Which I never get together. Yeah. Ever. So then finally I call her somewhere around September and say, I need you to get everything from the IRS because I've lost all of that paperwork that came to the mail.
Let's be honest. I threw it away.
All of it. Never open mail. Yeah. Mail is all bad. Yeah. Right?
Paper.
Do people open their mail?
Paper bad.
Terrible things are on that paper. Evil, right? It's like
this is all your.
It's like a Santeria witch in an envelope.
This is your conditioning from the many decades you spent. The many decades that you spent in lack consciousness.
In what consciousness?
Lack. Consciousness.
What's that mean?
As opposed to abundance consciousness.
Oh yeah, yeah. Although as an actor, my mailbox provided checks. For a lot of years, yeah. Right? So, which I also would avoid. So it's a dumb.
Because that was an errand then.
It's a thick Irish move.
Because you had to go take them to the bank. So, yeah.
Well, there was a long period of time when the mailbox was I called it the mailbox lottery. And after it dried up and I stopped doing commercials, I continued to tear open my mail, which was like a pre-approved useless credit card thing. Yeah. Like it was going to have
Christmas
money in it.
Yeah.
A car. What is this? Anyway, I every year I extend the taxes, and this year I did it again, and so until October 15th, and I have a return, like I always do. And the guy calls me and he's like, this is cool, but most people don't get extensions when they have money coming back. Like that's not a thing. And I consistently for 7-8 years I've had money back because I pay in based on the business, whatever it works out. And I have 3 kids, 2 now, whatever. I got plenty of things.
One didn't die, one grew up.
One is full grown, and I don't pay for him anymore.
I don't claim him. He's off the payroll.
I claim no. I have no claim to him.
You're disowned. You just said that. I have 3 kids, 2 now.
2 now.
Like
One
everyone's
man.
sending their condolences. Explain
He's a
that.
man now. He pays his own bills. I have graduated with one. He
Yeah.
feeds and clothes himself and
That's
pays
good.
his own bills.
Yeah.
I mean, that is now in the current climate with these millennials. That is like the fucking Harvard MBA. Like, if your kid lives in his own pad and pays his rent, you have. I mean, like, that's it. Nobel Peace Prize.
He may not have his pants on. He may not pull his pants
None
down.
of
Doesn't
those things
matter.
are.
And
There's
that doesn't
no
matter
car
to
in the driveway. Nothing. But
that doesn't matter to how millennials actually support themselves. They can be pantsless.
yeah, totally. Anyway, this guy's
'Cause
just
they're
giving me so
creative.
much shit, and he's like, well, and I go, well, that's kind of my Christmas fund. And it's also my clean up the year fund,
Yeah.
like thing. But I don't realize it's happening, and I still, 10 years later, 15 years later, think that I'm gonna get some big bill every year.
Yeah.
I buy that.
But and see, so all of that is some old conditioning and some
Yes.
old ways that you old self speak about your worthiness and whether or not you're organized or whether you even deserve to be on top of things if you are an adult, if you're a responsible adult, because that's just like some default thinking for you.
Yeah, I agree.
And you've been sober for over 3 years now.
Right.
So that's not that long, really, to then be changing your mindset about, hey, I guess I'm a grown-up and I actually know how to take care of things. Because if you're in your disease, in the moments of clarity and sobriety, you're like, okay, I assume I fucked some shit up. I
Yeah.
certainly at least avoided some stuff
Yeah.
while I was
Oh, for
blacked
sure.
out. I know I didn't pay bills during that blackout.
Well, the country would be fiscally in a way better shape if there were more people like me. During those years, because I just basically threw money at anything.
I love how you can end any discussion with "you're welcome."
Yeah.
However dastardly your behavior is, whatever dastardly behavior we're reviewing, you still find a way to say, and that was a service, folks. You're welcome.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Aidan saved our country by being
Fact.
extremely irresponsible.
Irresponsible, but not irresponsible to the good of other people.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
I was buying and wasting
You're a
lots
martyr.
of people's. Yes.
You're basically Stephen. You're
Well, also
the first Christian
continuing
martyr.
the free market system.
You're sustaining that.
Sustained the free
I
market
know.
system. I probably drank $250,000 worth of liquor a year.
Exactly.
Easily, just to
Right.
my head.
And people
And
pay-
another twice that for other people.
Now the problem with that is that you didn't pay for it, and
So
for most
people
of it,
paid for it.
So there were taxes paid on it. Yeah,
Yes,
you're right. It wasn't
true
stolen.
story. No,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
I built schools in this city based on how much I've drank. And I've snorted your weight.
You say that almost every episode.
And that's a lot of jet fuel buying back and forth,
For whom?
Cocaine.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
That stuff doesn't just run on turtles' backs up here.
And somebody paid taxes on that jet fuel.
Fact.
Yeah,
There's a lot. Yes.
that's good.
They probably use the Air Force One for it these days.
You said that. Yes, you said that you also can. So far as that sort of default thinking that you're irresponsible, that you have, the
Yes,
the
and
lacking
it
self-worth.
turns out I'm not.
And then you don't pay your car registration or something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Because you have a habit of saying I think it's kind of like me with my parking tickets. They used to freak me out, and now I don't even register that I get them because I pay them right away. And you, with your car registration, you're just a little bit behind because you didn't pay it because you just assume you can't, or it doesn't register for you.
The registration. Well, I had a
doesn't register.
shitload of parking tickets. Let them all double. Like, why? I had the money. And like that was just a thing I needed to do. Whatever. I think a lot of people do this thing, and not on that scale, but like I just let it go, and had to have a little guilt and tinge about it for a while, and it didn't become cheaper or easier to handle, and it was fairly easy to handle.
And it wasn't doing anyone any favor for you to walk around with a little bit of guilt for no reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the government would be happy to know that my tax return mostly went to my registration and parking tickets, so it went right back into another coffer, essentially, right? So they just took it from one department and sent it to another.
Right.
It's-
And you kept some clerks employed who
True
had to do
story.
the paperwork. You're welcome.
I'm keeping the DMV like just rolling.
Yeah, it's rolling. All right.
Rolling. Hey, by the way, I went over there and took my kid for the permit test, and they have got some serious streamlined situations happening.
They do?
Kudos to the Cole Avenue DMV.
Okay.
There's all kinds of number systems in play now, and movement, and there was like a hostess.
There was a hostess.
Yeah, who moves around, surly, terrible looking thing. But she was, but she, I mean, it wasn't Spago by any means, but she definitely nailed it, got you right and through and around. It was lovely. I enjoyed the entire experience. Got me right through.
Oh, very nice.
No, I mean, it was, the whole pain. The kid had to do it 4 times in a row, the test.
Oh.
But as I went 4 times and I watched their systems, and because I'm a systems analyst for hospitality,
Yes, that's right.
I was like, well done. This is turning into a nice machine. And the hostess and the ropes and the situation, you know what I mean? It was all good.
Well, that's really cool.
So America is getting better because my life's getting easier.
And you're welcome.
Thank you. Wow, I am big me today.
You are you are bigly you.
Feeling me today.
But you also were saying that when we were talking about how we can be specific about our requests with the universe, because when we just ask for abundance, well, you are abundant. You have a car and a bicycle, and you have
3 bicycles.
You have food, and so you're generally abundant. But then we walk around with some kind of complaint internally that it isn't abundant in a specific way that I'm enjoying in every moment. And it's like, but do you even know what that is? Like, do you have a definition for the thing that you want? And
that's
goal?
what you were talking about. Talk about that, because that's really okay. What do you want?
Yeah, what do you want? And so if you're asking for something very general, and you're going to get something really general.
Yeah, love, money, but that's not, nobody, now I'm more clear on that. My universe doesn't know what that means.
Right.
You know what I mean? So right now, as we're talking about all those sort of luxury moments that I just was complaining about, that's abundance, right? And there's kids in my house, there's love and stuff like that. So if I got to get real specific that I want super hot, sexy love, I got to get really specific.
Right. And if you want to make more money doing something, you
love. Oh, you're right. Like, and what's wrong with asking
and you say
for
like,
that?
Oh, there's nothing wrong with it. That's the thing.
That's what a lot of people do, including myself. Like
and it requires us to deepen our self.
You feel ungrateful.
You feel like you don't deserve it. So when I reviewed that yesterday to do my 55 by 5, and I was like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I was like, gosh, I really wish I could do what I'm doing, but just make more money. That's so weird. And at a higher level. And I was like, that's so weird. I hadn't considered that I could have what I've already created. Just improve it. It had escaped me.
Well, I do this baby with the bathwater
because
thing.
I don't think that what I've created is good enough.
Yeah. Right?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, it's for sure.
And it made me laugh.
And like, how long can you do that for? And
this is like sitting in the, I was saying that demanding for, wanting, being in angst about having something, but not really placed your specific request in yourself and out into the universe, is like sitting in a restaurant and flagging on the waiter and saying, where's my food? And the waiter says, we haven't placed an order yet. What I was doing was sitting there going, waiter, I want food that is delicious. And he's like, well, you ordered that food, so you got it.
Yeah.
If you want something more, then tell me, and I will bring you more or different.
Yeah. I mean,
so weird.
Asking specifically has been uncomfortable. I can say it in the last, I'd say 3 weeks. It was like a click that happened, and for somebody, and I do work with a healer and a thing, and she was really specific about asking for what do you want, and I didn't have answers for that.
Right.
And I feel like a demanding big id. I mean, I feel like I'm somebody who's pretty straightforward. Like, I want stuff all the time.
Well, straight. Not really. Straight's kind of a big word to use.
All the gay bashing today.
Is that a bash?
She's so full of it. So I'm telling you, it's Texas. She's failing her election. She's got. No, there was just a ton of, it was a ton of resistance when I started to say, like, okay, I want 30 of these. And it not, like I had all of the things like, oh, it's gluttonous, it's impetuous, it's, I'm just being, and do I really want
arrogant,
it? And what terrible thing will happen if I get that?
So
that's a heavy one.
Something I'm talking about along those lines, actually. So I actually am a part of this spiritual community called the Lightworkers Lab. You've heard about it if you listen to my show Charmed Life with Tricia Carr. dropping the things that I want y'all to, subscribe, like, share, comment on Charmed Life, talk about all this stuff, and even yes, there's a lot of
and also you do readings on that, right?
Yeah.
That's the deal, right?
No, it's not entirely the deal. Thanks for listening, but I do take calls sometimes, and some readings are happening. It's more about
I get readings. That's why I get to. I fleece her for off market readings all the time.
Well, it's education. It's discussion. It's inspiration, and I have guest experts on, and we talk.
It's a coven.
It is a coven, and so Kurt knows. Kurt listens because I pay him to.
Really?
He's my producer. Well, he's my producer on the show.
I do that show.
Right? Yeah? I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah. You know nothing about me. Nice to meet you.
Who are you people?
And so oh gosh, you made me forget what I was talking about now.
Your show. I mean, on Lightworkers.
The Lightworkers Lab. Yeah, thank you. So
specifically asking
the Lightworkers Lab
and
is
then not receiving and then being afraid of what you get.
An online spiritual community hosted on Facebook by founded by my friend Crystal and Carr. Go find the Lightworkers Lab. But I do go live and I do readings and I do teaching and stuff like that. So
if people aren't on Facebook, so I'm going to get technical. If people aren't on Facebook, can they get in? Can they
the lab? No, you can go to the website and see what we're up to. And there is a free.
Can they be involved at live, or you have to be on Facebook?
Yeah, it's only on Facebook right at this time.
Okay.
So
that's for you folks. I already knew that.
What I'm talking about today in the Lightworkers Lab is, are you afraid of your own magic?
Yeah.
Because I find that about myself, certainly, that I'm afraid of what I will create. And so I hold myself off from creating something because I think that I am not basically worthy of creating my own reality. Because if I create something that I don't like, then it's going to be difficult to dematerialize it. But that's just some wonky self-rejection.
Yeah, I feel like, I think that a lot of people, and I hear people saying, there's two things. There's like, first of all, once I achieve all my goals, what else is there? Like, then there's like a little
there's
fear
always
of
more.
mortality.
There's always more.
Right, the endless more thing, which I'm starting to understand. But I definitely felt like for a long time, 20s, 30s, and 40s, like if I achieved my accomplishments, they were done. And then the second thing is like bad rice. If you come from an Irish Catholic family like mine, if you brag to the universe, you're going to get smacked down.
Bad rice. So, no, I don't know what that
means.
means.
Got cancer the next day. Bad rice means that, like the Chinese saying, like if they ever ask you how everything was, bad rice. The season's bad. Bad rice.
Okay.
It's like a thing.
It is apparently for Korean
for Chinese people. It's
Korean War area.
It's probably a racial profile towards Asians by Irish Catholics.
I know. How many of those things? Isn't that funny?
We talked about that.
Well, no, I was saying, it took me a long time to detox from all the racial things that I didn't know were a part of my vernacular. Having grown up in Texas in the time period that I lived, being born in the 70s and growing up there in the 70s and 80s, and
oh my God, I grew up in the 70s in Boston.
And in Texas, there were things that as a child that I just were a part of my vernacular. And I didn't know that they were racist. It was so sad.
There's a ton of stuff. I know. We talked about a cracker, gypsy, all those things that we're not allowed to
Gypsy's
say.
terrible. I know.
I didn't know that. Gypsy, I thought that was just a crystal ball and a lady in a wagon.
In a wagon. You want to hear? Okay, I'm going to tell. You want to hear a very, very sad story. This is a very, very sad story.
I can't wait to hear that.
When I was 5 or 6 years old.
Okay, it's a good story about you.
We'll end the show with this because we're basically out of time. When I was 5 or 6 years old, this is how sad the culture is. It's not necessarily my family.
I'm not dying to hear any of this based on the lead-in.
One of the times that I was taken to Sunday school. I almost said it with the text. Should I say the rest of this with an accent?
With some biscuits in a basket.
So I went to Sunday school. My mama took us to Sunday school this one time.
Gotcha.
And the reason she actually took us was because she was mad at Daddy. And she wanted to get away from him. And he has DTs until noon, and because Tarrant County is dry until noon. And so at noon he would be a little bit friendlier. And so you're already tired. You're already sad.
By all that, I've just lived all that.
You want to rend your clothing?
I never lived anywhere. You could.
We're in Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher is showing us this painting, this picture, probably from a book, of Jesus with all the little children of the world. So several children of different colors. Like red and yellow, black and white, blah, 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 blah. And that song.
That it was red. Remember the red?
I know, it's terrible. Anyway,
right.
that already.
Indians were red.
Right. And so she was pointing to different children in the picture, and she says, "And what is this child called?" And they said, "What?" Or Caucasian, but that's what they said. "And what is this child called?" "Chinese," which, of course we should have said Asian, but we didn't know any better. That's the good part. And then she said, "What is this child called?" And nobody wanted to say anything. Nobody wanted to say what that child with the dark skin was called.
Oh, what? They had no word for it?
They were afraid to say it.
Oh, because
the word that they had for it. And so the teacher said, "This child is called a Negro," and that was the
term.
That was the in the 80s. And I seriously wanted to raise my hand and ask her why she was pronouncing it that way, because I didn't know why nobody else wanted to say it, and I didn't know there was another word for it. I didn't know. I didn't even know black. I didn't even know to say that word.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
I was 5.
Yeah.
You know.
And I get you.
You know, and my father almost joined. The story goes, my father almost joined the KKK once, but my mother was too afraid and asked him not to.
He wasn't ambitious enough.
Exactly. He couldn't make the meeting.
He didn't have that kind of gumption.
He was waiting for the liquor store to open because it was in Dry County.
Lazy bigots.
That's sad.
Thank God for that.
That's sad.
There's so many assholes sitting on their couch right now dying to join a few hate mongering clubs, but they're just too fucked up.
But the thing is that there are people of
Stay
color.
home. Drink your whiskey.
There are people of color who are asking people who are white like us, even though I grew up very, very, very poor white, that are asking us to detox ourselves of these kinds of. There's more than just that, and so I'm open to that. You know,
this is a whole nother conversation.
Yes, it is. But we were talking about politics, and so we are out of time. Aidan,
and asking for what you want from politicians. And like now that the die have been cast, how about all of us going to spiritual work and asking for what we want from this current tableau. There's all my words. I found them.
Place your specific. They all came out in one vomit. Place your specific, and the way you know is by feeling into your own self and your true essence.
You're in control of
and
this.
Feeling into the situation empathetically. Well, that is it. We will see you again next week on Enlightened AF.
Really
Please
tired of this black rod.
Enlightened AF Pod. Follow us. Subscribe, like, share, comment. We love you. See you next time.